So we have talked about the mistakes that you're making inside of the gym that are keeping you from making your full progress. But there's a lot of time outside of the gym. So what are the 10 biggest mistakes that you're making outside of the gym that could be keeping you from reaching your full potential? I have a lot of young guys on this platform. So my number one thing that I often see with young guys is that they're eating too little. I know you feel like you're stuffing your face. You're like, but I'm full all the time. I'm eating so much. You're 150 pounds. If you're 150 pounds, you are eating too little. You need to actually increase your caloric intake. So start tracking your calories. You can't base it off of your feelings. You know, around here, your feelings don't matter. If you are not eating enough, you are not going to give yourself the potential to actually grow. You can't recomp your way to 180 pounds lean if you're 150 pounds. Now, that being said, there is the opposite end, because we have people on all walks of life, every end of the spectrum. And there's the other end where people are just eating too much. When I say eating too much, I mean you're 180 pounds, you're consuming 5,000 calories because you were told you need to eat big to get big. Not usually the case. If you are getting enough calories, if you are actually consistently putting weight on the scale, you do not need to eat more to make that go faster. Now, that doesn't mean that you should only be aiming to gain like 1 pound every 3 months or so, but let's say you're gaining at somewhere in a rate of 0.25 to 0.75-ish pounds. You do not need to be continually increasing your food intake to potentiate more gains. A little bit of a surplus is going to be more than enough to get you the gains that you're looking for. And especially if you are somebody who is already relatively hefty. Let's say you're on the other end of the spectrum where you're a little bit overweight. You don't need to be consuming a lot of calories to make gains. I'm going to say, especially if you're 25 to 30% body fat, maybe even a little bit higher, you should probably focus on getting your health in order, getting your fat levels down before you start going into a building phase. Number 3, we're obviously talking about eating. So one of the things that we cannot overlook is that people are focusing too much on protein and not enough on quality foods. I'm not saying not to focus on protein, but there's been such a heavy emphasis within the fitness industry to focus on protein that people are doing it at the expense of quality food. So they're just finding ways to get extra whey protein in. They're eating protein bars, drinking protein shakes, and they're not actually consuming quality food. They just fill up their other calories with whatever. They have cereal, junk food, donuts, Rice Krispies. It's like, well, I had enough protein for the day, so I hit my protein goal, good to go. No, there was actually a very famous case of a person who's a stunt dieter, and what he did, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, I'll have him pictured right here, is he decided that he was going to hit, I think it was 2,000 calories, and the majority of it was going to be on ice cream and other goodies, but he was going to make sure that he got protein through protein supplementation. And what he said was, while he got the weight loss results that he was looking for, he just felt so horrid through the entire process. He just didn't want to go to the gym. He was putting in tons of hours into his YouTube channel, and all of a sudden he could barely put in a couple minutes without feeling like he had zero motivation. And this is what happens when you start allowing too much junk food into your diet and you don't actually focus on nutrient-dense sources. So do not give up nutrient-dense sources, just get protein and calories. More than protein and calories matters, actually focus on the overall nutrition quality, and that will cause you to get better overall gains in the gym. Number 4, moving on from diet, is sleep. I cannot emphasize this enough. I will often tell people when they ask me, they are so hyper fixated on their workouts, and they'll say, well, I'm not getting progress, I'm not getting as much as I want to out of the gym. And I will ask them, first question, how's your sleep? Oh, you know, it's I don't sleep very much. I get maybe like 5-6 hours a night. I'm like, what are you doing? You are absolutely hamstringing yourself. So sleep, quality and hours, both important. So if you're just waking up constantly during the night, but you're getting 7 or 8 hours, focus on making sure that you're not waking up as much. Get your sleep hygiene in check. Figure out what you need to do in order to get yourself a better quality sleep. If you're simply not getting enough hours, find ways to do it. I had somebody in my live the other day, they said to me, yeah, well, I can only get 5 hours a night. I can only get 5 hours of sleep. I said, you're on my live, aren't you? You're on TikTok, nap. Use this time and catch up on some sleep. I'm not saying that that is the absolute best way to do it, but if you're only getting 5 hours at night, but you have times throughout the day, get more sleep in. That is going to do more for your progress than almost anything that I can give you inside of the gym. Get enough and get high quality sleep. Number 5 is stress. Now, I know you can't control every single variable in your life, but if you are somebody who is constantly stressed out all the time over the various scenarios, and you're just constantly thinking about all these things and it's weighing down on you, find ways to alleviate stress. I'm not saying you're going to be able to alleviate every single stress in your life, but the stress that you want is the stress in the gym, stress on the muscles. But you're stressing your brain out constantly, that is going to overall accumulate. And as much as you might not realize it, the brain is going to have a huge impact on the overall physical. So if you're just constantly stressing over every little thing in your life, find ways to alleviate that stress. I'm not saying go meditate for 3 hours or anything like that, but there are ways to do it. There's plenty of people online who have tips for alleviating stress. Find ways to alleviate stressors in your life, and that will actually produce gains within the gym, surprisingly. Is this number 5 or number 6? I think it's number 6. Okay. Number 6 is forcing yourself to train at a specific time. I'll hear a lot of people say, well, I don't really want to, but I heard that training like first thing in the morning is going to get your day started off right. It's going to get you off to a good start, and you're going to be feeling good and motivated, and it's going to set you up for quality for the rest of your day. There is more than enough evidence to show that training in the morning for people who are not morning people is not a good idea for muscular growth. Most people are going to perform better if they give themselves a little bit of a time to wake up. That doesn't mean that you have to train late in the evening or anything, but if you're a person who's forcing yourself to train first thing in the morning and you just don't have as much motivation, you're not feeling as good, it's going to cause your performance to suffer, and overall it's going to cause your muscle mass to suffer. So if you're somebody who's just forcing yourself to go in first thing in the morning, but you have another time that you can go to the gym, take that other time. It's going to make more sense for your gains in the long run. And do not force yourself to go first thing in the morning because some motivational guru told you that working out first thing in the morning is the best way to start your day. Number 7 is trying to stay too lean. I get it. I understand. Everybody wants the perfect physique all the time. There are very few people out there who can stay at 8, 9, 10% body fat and make optimal progress. You've got your David Lades, your even like Alex Eubank, who they stay relatively lean and they feel good. And they're able to go hard in the gym and feel proper while doing that. As somebody who's been there, who's tried to do it, who's coached many people who have tried to do it, I can tell you this, more people than not will find themselves performing better as their body fat levels get a little bit higher than if they try to keep themselves super lean. Now, I'm not saying you have to get fat. It's not at all what I'm saying. I'm just saying if you're trying to stay at that really nice shredded six-pack, obliques popping through, striations everywhere, vascularity everywhere all the time, you're probably doing more harm than good to your overall long-term gains. You want to show that off every once in a while, get ready for show like I do, that's fine. But if you're trying to stay there all the time, it's probably not going to be the best for your overall muscular progress. And going off of the staying too lean and diet route, low-fat diets. I'm sorry, this was something that was put forward to people by people who are on exogenous hormones, and people who are on exogenous hormones do not need to produce that themselves. And so when they say, yeah, just keep your fats as low as possible, carbs high, protein high, good to go, it does not work as well for natural lifters. Some people will be able to get away with it. They can have a little bit lower fat and still feel good, still sleep good, still perform well. But I have found very consistently that for natural athletes who try to keep their fats super low, they don't sleep well, they don't perform well, they feel hungry, they feel irritable, their hormones get out of whack. So if you're following a very low-fat diet, especially as a natural lifter, it is probably not going to be very good for your overall progress, even though you are getting lots of carbs, and carbs are energy, and so you should be... No, you need to have your fats at a level that is going to optimize your hormones, and if you don't have it at that level, you're always going to be holding back some progress. Which leads me to my next point, not getting blood work. I get it. You're not an enhanced athlete. You're not somebody who feels like you need to be checking your blood work to see if it's optimal or not. But I have had so many people come to me and they're like, I feel like I'm doing all the right things. I feel like I'm going to the gym at the right time. I feel like I'm trying to go to sleep at the right time. I might not be getting the best sleep, but I'm like trying to do the right things to get there, doing all this, and I just feel off. I feel tired. I feel lethargic, all this different stuff. Like, okay, so what's your blood work look like? They have no clue. And then they go get it done, and their testosterone's at 200. They have a free testosterone that's way too low. Their estradiol, like everything is just way off. And I'm like, okay, this is what you need to focus on. And if you can remedy it through natural means, by all means, that's fine. But I think far too many people are so concerned about natural status that they won't do what they need to medicinally in order to get themselves on track. If you need to take exogenous hormones in order to get yourself feeling good, in order to get yourself back to normal, do not feel bad about that. There's nothing special about being a natural athlete. If you can't compete in natural competitions, but your quality of life goes through the roof, way better. So yeah, definitely get your blood work done. Doesn't mean you need to get it done all the time, but get a baseline, see where it's at, and if it needs fixing, find ways to fix it. And then my last point, and this one is super, super important, guessing. And what I mean by guessing is guessing on everything. A lot of times I'll talk to people and they'll be like, yeah, I'm just not doing as well as I need to. I feel like I could be doing better. And I'll ask them specifics about their life. Every single thing about their life, they're guessing. So how many hours of sleep you're getting? I don't, maybe like 6, maybe 7, like they don't know. So track your sleep. How many calories are you eating a day? I don't know, like maybe around like 2,500, 3,000, I don't know. Track. Figure out ways to take the guesswork out of your life. As long as you can figure out what you're doing, you can figure out what might be off. But if you're not actually tracking any of these variables, you're not going to know what might need fixing if you have issues that arise. So take the guesswork out, figure out exactly what you're doing, track, log everything, and then when you get a baseline, maybe then you can relax and not have to track every single variable. But if you're having issues and you don't know what's going on, you're going to need to take some of that guesswork out of there. And if you do all of these things, I promise you, your gains in the gym are going to be so much better. You spend 23 hours outside of the gym and then 1 hour inside of it. And you think only the 1 hour inside of the gym matters? Absolutely not the case. You need to focus on that time outside of the gym in order to maximize what you're going to get out of the gym. And that's what I got for you guys today. The 10 mistakes that you're making outside of the gym that you need to fix in order to maximize your progress. See you next time. TNF out.